Hello, and welcome to part 2 of a 2-part series with me interviewing Aaron and Elliot St. James of Columbia Tools.
Like, after all the trips I've been on, all the people I've met, all the stuff we've done, when I was younger, I would sit there and dream of being out on the road and meeting people from corporations, right? And impressing them and getting them to agree that our tools were worth buying or whatever. And it's like, you end up back in the factory anyways, and it doesn't even matter at the end. It's not the end for me, but like after enough time in it, you realize that you just need to put a really good product, back it up, and you got to stay in the game a long time.
I'm your host, Nick Harmon. On today's Drywall Podcast, we get into all kinds of interesting topics surrounding branding and how to get into various yards. We talk about Columbia's relationship with Phil from PRC Taping. The Drywall Podcast was brought to you today by Fresco Harmony. Fresco Harmony, making walls better since 2004. Super excited to have Aaron and Elliot back on the Drywall Podcast for this 26th episode of the Drywall Podcast. For now, Aaron and Elliot with Columbia Tools. Let's get into it. Check. You guys can't hear me? Oh, okay.
Can you hear us?
We're there.
I don't know why it takes so long for Zoom to I don't know why they don't just put the video and the mic on. You have to click all this shit and You should have to turn it off. You should have to turn it off.
So you guys got a chance to listen to the podcast. Did you like it? I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I liked it. Yeah, I mean, you never like hearing your voice on the radio or TV, right? But I'm kind of used to it now, right? I'm kind of like, that doesn't bother. When I was a kid, I was like, oh my God, I sound like that. Remember you had like the little Walkman thing and you record your voice, and I was like, holy shit, I'm an idiot.
I've sang and I've written some music, and so I've sang and I play the guitar and I've sang and made music and done that. And that's very, very challenging. I have this thing on my personal Facebook page called Sunday Sessions, and I go on and I'll play and sing an original tune or a cover song like live, and just to challenge myself. And I was doing that for quite a while. That's very hard. But
your mom tells you you're good at singing?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, she's very, very supportive. Very supportive.
Are you acoustic guitar, or what genre do you like? How do you play?
Acoustic and electric. I have a badass old Sears Silvertone, the same setup that Jack White uses. That old, it's like an old tube amp, and then I have an old guitar that's my grandfather's. I like that raunchy Black Keys. I'm into Jack White, the White Stripes, like that sound. But I do love playing acoustically, and generally, if I write, I'll play the acoustic guitar.
Okay, so more the White Stripe type genre then. That's cool.
Mm. Yeah.
That's not easy to play, I don't think.
I mean, I don't play his stuff. I kind of have my own sound, very bluesy. But my wife and I just saw Jack White in Santa Fe 3 weeks ago.
Cool.
All acoustical set. It was awesome.
Nice. Now, Albuquerque and Santa Fe, and like, you guys got a good art scene there, like music and stuff. People like to come through there, like festivals, and for the amount of population you guys have, you guys put it and stuff. Yeah,
well, Meow Wolf was developed here. That's sort of a rising phenomenon. It's this art cooperative that they created this House of Eternal Return, and actually, like, I'm into like Shaky Graves. We saw Shaky Graves play there, and it has a performance space, but it's this trippy house that you go through, and everything's artistic in it. Everything's like, it's like a maze, but you can like walk through the refrigerator into another room. And now it was backed by George R.R. Martin. He backed it. He lives in Santa Fe. Now they're in Denver, I believe, Las Vegas, and a couple other locations. They got huge, different weird artistic setups that you can go tour. Very interesting. Albuquerque is like the dirty drug addict stepchild of Santa Fe. They very much look down their nose at Albuquerque, but Albuquerque's like got the cool progressive scene, and Santa Fe is kind of like hoity-toity,
But 30 minutes apart or so, or not too far?
An hour. Yeah, it's an hour drive.
Okay.
Taos is like, your hippie ski town.
That's the whole hippie ski. Okay. Yeah, I want to check that place out sometime.
That's a further hour north, hour and a half north. But fun fact, Albuquerque sits at 5,000 feet elevation. So we're way up, like I think higher than Denver. And then Santa Fe, it snows every year. Santa Fe is like 7,000 feet elevation.
It's funny. It's like New Mexico, like Arizona boomed, obviously. And Colorado has been growing steadily for years. But I mean, Phoenix, like 20 years ago, was little. But Albuquerque and Santa Fe didn't get that same population influx. Not totally yet, anyways.
No. We're too ghetto.
No, I don't think it's that. I mean, maybe it's major highways. Like,
I don't know.
What
I've always wondered why New Mexico never.
It's rough. It's rough here. Like Breaking Bad is not far off. Vince Gilligan was very particular about the way he designed that.
Wanted to portray it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And those guys love it here. They all bought houses here, the cast and the crew. We've got Netflix, we've got Sony, we've got SpaceX, we've got Facebook, Amazon,
corporate headquarters.
There's a lot of energy here. I think that is sort of still
come into New Mexico then.
I think so. They call it like the next Hollywood or something, but
I really enjoyed my time there. I was only there for a couple of days, but we drove up from Phoenix, and I really enjoyed the time I spent there. Just the different little diners and stuff along the road, and it was great.
Yeah.
But I want to spend more time there. But no one's ever going to New Mexico, like hardly ever. No, like people are like, hey, you want to join me going to New Mexico? Aaron is the first person. You're the first person to invite me there.
And we'll get into this branding conversation. It's been kind of fascinating to me. I can cut out the chit chat or not. I like chit chatting with you guys. I think it's all good stuff. You guys are pretty cool. We're around the same age, and we're in the same industry. Like it's a win-win.
Branding. What was your view when you started Fresco Harmony? And what's your view now of branding and breaking through that peripheral screen?
I was talking with my wife about it this morning, and we were talking about influencers, and I was talking about specifically, and I can cut this out, but I got approached by Wolfgang with Can-Am. So and I was and we just did a FaceTime, and we were chatting, and I was like, well, why specifically would you reach out to me now? And he was like, well, specifically because you reached out to Columbia.
He's very honest. He's a very honest guy. Yeah,
he's a cool dude, and I love that he's like, he's very forthright, and I like that there's competition there, and but it's interesting to me, like nobody gives a shit about Fresco Harmony, like what I'm up to. It could be a good idea, bad idea, whatever. It has nothing to do with anything until I make a podcast, and my wife was saying, well, it's because you're targeting your industry, and it's a different approach. But we were talking about how there's a movie called Wrexham. Have you seen that with
you're talking about?
So they bought English Premier League team, way low down English Premier League team called
that show. Yeah.
There's a show called Wrexham.
Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah. All right. So Ryan Reynolds is it's a fantastic show.
Right? He's not Ant-Man. He's Deadpool.
No, the other guy though.
Deadpool. You're right. Yeah, you're right. Deadpool. My bad. Yeah. Sometimes in podcasts I get like my brain.
Fucking cinephile over here.
No. I'm glad you corrected me. So what's brilliant about Wrexham is not the fact that they bought this shitty English Premier League team. They aren't even Premier League. There's like 6 tiers of English Premier League.
They're like a low tier, yeah.
They're like below that. They're trying to get in to like just compete against these lower echelons. So that's how bad Wrexham is. But what's brilliant about the movie is they bought this team specifically, I think to help the team, but neither one of them were into soccer. But it has everything to do with like branding of his product, because he does alcohol is a big thing now.
Yeah,
so these guys they've got Aviator Gin.
Yeah.
So the team's sponsored by Aviator. TikTok jumped on. TikTok is sponsoring Wrexham. This
now they got a show on
team
Netflix or something like that, or Apple TV, or
well, that's how the show.
Yeah.
So, but how brilliant is that? Like, buying a Premier League team has nothing to do with marketing his alcohol, his liquor, but ultimately that's the byproduct of what he's doing.
Yeah.
That's fascinating and brilliant all at the same time.
No, and like
it's a source to get your awareness out there, right?
And like for sure, like I mean, definitely leave the Can-Am Wolfgang part in. It doesn't matter to me. He's a great guy. He's an honest guy. He's a hardworking guy. He makes a good product. He's looking to market it. He wants to get in hold of you, which is awesome.
Yeah.
You created a platform and you created a venue in an industry that didn't have one.
Right.
The thing that I think about marketing now, though, is like, at first you're trying to get momentum or some acceptance, right? And usually, like when you're little, you're working off anecdotal evidence. There's like one guy who loves it or one company that loves it, and it keeps you going. That's like the fuel that keeps you going when you're small and you're like,
it makes you think it's bigger than it is. And
you're in a world with no agreement, right? There's no agreement that your product's needed, that it's good. So you're out there in the face of no agreement, but you run into these people, and these people keep your dream alive, right?
Yeah,
because they embrace you and they engage you. And I think what's happened here at our company is that we fought that fight, and we stayed in late long enough to get enough recognition to get some momentum going, where people like our tools that we don't even know, and we don't know where they are. And like Fresco Harmony, one day you might see a guy post in I don't know, Italy doing a house, and that'd be awesome. That'll be like awesome this happened. But then at the end of it, not the end of it, but later in my career, I'm like, I just want to make good tools. And because like kind of like a musician, like they probably do all the stuff in the early days to play shitty bars and to get notes and to get a contract, and then the record label wants them to change and all the stuff that happens, like that.
Then they end up going back to their roots,
and then they end up going back at the end.
Yeah,
I've a few of those concerts lately, like and they just play whatever the fuck they want. They don't care if you want them to play the hits. They might play some hits.
Pearl Jam was like that.
Yeah, he wants to play his new stuff, right? And then like even like it's kind of funny. Like my friend wanted to go to Michael Bolton on his 50th birthday, and the guy's awesome. But what I realized when I was watching his concert, he played his hits, right?
Yeah.
But he wanted to play. He played some opera. He played some blues. Like
interesting.
He just loves music and wanted to play music for people, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of where I'm at with Drywall tools now. It's like, I just like today I was loading some milling machines. We got a guy off. He wants to become a fireman, so he's taking a medical course. So I'm running 2 milling machines, and it's really bright here today, kind of like a snowy kind of day, but it's not snowing yet.
Okay.
And the doors open and the sun's shining off the aluminum, and like after all the trips I've been on, all the people I've met, all the stuff we've done, and when I was younger, I would sit there and dream of being out on the road and meeting people from corporations, right? And impressing them and getting them to agree that our tools were worth buying or whatever. And it's like you end up back in the factory anyways, and it doesn't even matter at the end. It's not the end for me, but like after enough time in it, you realize that you just need to put a really good product, back it up, and you got to stay in the game a long time. That's kind of the third thing. So. You
guys have experienced like a level of success, and granted, like it was, like Joe Koenig, it was generational. Like, I was talking with Wolfgang about like in this industry being like a bootstrapper is like
for sure
very hard.
For 50 years, right? Wolfgang, a long time. He worked with the previous owner of Can-Am as a machinist, and then he bought it from the owner of he's been around a long time.
It's interesting.
But no, we have had some success. Joe Koenig's had a lot of success. I mean, he's in a bigger market. There's more dollars in his market, in his channel, like being a consumable material that Trimtex makes.
Right.
But, he's a passionate guy. That guy.
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
like, he's, I don't know, man. That guy, most guys would have been gone years ago.
No, he's
like
still,
either
he's still
sold
hands-on
or
right in the net.
off the,
Yeah.
you know, he's so involved.
And Wolfgang was saying that too, like in this industry, you have to be that way, kind of.
Yeah.
You have to be, because otherwise, you know, people would just give up.
Yeah, well, there's like Aaron was saying, there's a lot of turnover now at the drywall yards, and you got to stay with your finger on the pulse of what's happening out there.
Yeah, you can't just ignore what's going on.
You can get forgotten pretty quick.
Yeah,
and so like what Joe's doing and what Wolfgang's doing, it's, you know, pick up the phone. Scott Murray from Level 5 did a great job of that before, and I'm sure with his new company will still. And
well, we're a big industry, but we're not a big industry. Like it's pretty small niche
geographically.
Yeah.
No, but it's pretty small niche. Like it's
Oh, it's a niche.
Well, and the people, it's a small community. Like,
very small.
Other industries, you know, you go to go to a tile convention or something. It's probably way different than Intex. You know,
or anything like that.
Yeah. We've got like a handful of players.
Yeah.
You know, it's really weird.
I think what you're going to find with your product is that you're going to end up doing it on your own in the end, I think. And what I mean is you already are doing it on your own, but the larger corporate entities only take notice when you're a revenue stream for them. They're not really they're going to help you pioneer it.
Right.
It's only gotten worse with the profit and loss statements, and the managers get like I don't want to say a fine, but they get a deduction off any variable bonus pay for stagnant inventory and like well, just the yards they get an audit on their inventory inside the supply yard, and anything over 90 days it goes a score against, you know, a total score of performance. So you know, you're up against all that stuff. Yeah,
the profit's got to keep up rising when you're you know, I can say fuck and nobody, I don't care, doesn't matter.
That's why we've kind of appreciated staying small too, is we can kind of do whatever we want, and we can, you know, we can help people the way we want to help people. And
and I think your product's going to take quite a bit of work, but you've done a lot of it already, from what I understand. Yeah. And you know, like when you're boiling water, you're literally transferring heat into the water, so you're getting molecules moving in the water, and they start banging into each other, and they start creating friction, and you know, oils. Well, you're out there trying to move molecules in people's consciousness over what you do, right? And you're like, and you got to watch it though, because you can get a little flame going, and then it goes out, right? Like, you don't stay on it, right?
That's a good analogy. You were talking about the monkeys too, and it's spot on. It's spot on.
Yeah. And it's just like, can your body hold out? Can your stress levels hold out while you're trying to do
you're going to have ups and downs the whole way, right? You're going to have...
I have to have this attitude of like, I get excited and I want it all to happen. Like I want to do a deal. I want to do a deal and make a bunch of money. And then I want to be in like 50 locations. And it's like, it doesn't... Well, it doesn't.
That is what you have to do. You got to have a goal of getting in 50. No, just go.
Yeah, I have to start though. I have to start with that first molecule. I have to start with
you got to see what it takes. Does it
take
doing 5 colors instead of 50 colors? Does it take?
But
giving away free product in certain markets, what does it take? You know what I mean? And those are the steps you got to do to get there.
The funny thing is the 50 yards. I like that. So that's your goal, right? Your current goal, is that like or you made that up?
That's a good one. It's arbitrary, but like it's realistic to be more sustainable. Like that would be a good number, and if I would reach a critical threshold, I believe at that number.
Sure.
I mean, they're going to know about me. If I'm in 50 yards, I'm doing 50 trainings. That would take a large amount of time. I go to each yard, I do a training. There would be a lot of awareness around the product at that point. There would be a critical threshold at that point.
So here's the thing. So 50 is the goal. I had a bunch of goals, and I still do have goals, but I had a bunch of goals when I was younger in our industry, and I still do have other goals. But what Aaron and I were talking about the other day at lunch, and we were talking about you and the podcast and stuff, is by the time you reach those 50 yards, you will have forgotten that you wanted to get 50 yards. Because it's been so long. And one day they'll be sitting there, maybe 8 years from now, maybe 5, maybe 10, whatever. And you'll be like, I have 53 yards.
Yeah. And you're because you're on to the next goal already, and you're moving forward. You're on 100 yards, right? And you don't even realize you have the 50.
Well, the process is so long, and the journey is so different than you think it's going to be.
Yeah.
You forget about the 50, and you're like, because you'll maybe get 23, and maybe you'll lose 3 of them, and there'll be all this stuff goes on, right? And you'll hire someone, and you'll maybe find a really inspirational partner to work with, or customer, and then one day you'll be there, and it'll be like 50 yards, and you're like, huh. But it won't even be that fulfilling necessarily.
Right.
That's the sad part.
That's the sad part.
I call it that's a good point. I call it the juice. Like when you're doing a business, people think that you just arrive at this miracle place. It's the juice. So and it can be even as small as making a sale. But like I was talking with somebody, the Yellow Jacket guy. So I interviewed him. Have you Mike Roukett with the Yellow Jacket?
Bucket holder.
It's a bucket holder. Yeah, he's an old drummer. We were talking about, I was like, why haven't you quit? And it's that good golf shot. It's that it's that burst of juice that you get when you make a sale or when I sign up a yard. I'm here talking. I was more excited about this, talking to you guys, and selling a color pack. I love putting those things into the FedEx package and shipping them off. It's my favorite.
When you get something that you haven't had before, and you could be getting orders for whatever 50,000 from here, but you get an $800 order from somewhere you've never had to, and you've been trying to get into there forever.
Yeah,
it still hits, right? It's still
You call that the juice? Like it?
That's the juice. Yeah, that's a little burst of juice. Those are what we live for. There is no end game. And I don't know if you're familiar with Simon Sinek.
Yeah.
He talks about this thing called the infinite game and the finite game. And he uses the analogy of Apple and Microsoft all the time. But the infinite game is when you're just playing the game for the sake of playing the game. And the finite game is like when you're playing to see who wins and loses. And a lot of people go into business with the concept of, I'm going to like build this up and sell it. And other people go into it with a different attitude. Like, even if I sold this, I would still want to nurture it like a baby and like go do trainings and make sure it became successful, like whether I owned it or not.
Yeah, but when you go into it, when you want to just sell it, you make different moves than when you have a 30-year vision or a 40-year vision. You cut corners, you make different moves. It's a different way of operating for sure.
I find the people that are playing you said the finite versus infinite
game. I'll send you. He does a whole 40-minute talk about it. It's very cool.
Okay. What I find when someone's playing that finite game, they're relatively easy to compete against, easy because they're predictable. They're working off a balance sheet. They're watching their money because they're trying to like execute a 10x thing or something like that, where they put 100,000 in, trying to get $1 million out, and they won't go down side roads. They're on a mission to do that, to sell the company or to do whatever they're doing. Yeah. But the other guys are the scary ones, right? The guys playing the infinite game, they're the ones like, you just give them respect. You're like, okay, man, that's his territory. We're not getting
because they stay in their lane too. They don't give a shit about what you're up to. They because they're focused on their game. Yeah, and what they're playing.
I've been shut out. I've been like in towns, and they're like, no, we just deal with so and so. We just and I hear everywhere I go, and I go, holy shit, what's going on here? And then I find out years later, he was golfing with these guys, and he was like bowling with these guys, and he was like, I was wasting my time. This guy, that was his territory. He earned it straight up, with relationship and time and energy. I come in 10 years late to the territory, and forget it.
Loyalty. There's like loyalty. Yeah. He put and to give for credit for you guys, it makes me think of Phil. That story with Phil, and this is kind of where we wanted to start anyways, but Phil with PRC taping, he's in Canada. You're surfing the web. You're like, I'm going to look up Columbia Tools hashtag. Hashtag Columbia Tools. Phil's already on top of it. He's like, hashtag Columbia Tools. Maybe he's on the front end of the, remember they were doing that like on Jimmy Kimmel. Yeah. I think him and Justin Timberlake were making fun of the Hashtag
Sure,
this and that.
for sure.
But you saw something there though that I think is different. Now, stop me if I'm wrong. Were you on the front end of that curve, like ahead of Scott? Because Scott's there too with the branding. So you were on the front end of that.
Well, I saw it so we had built out our factory. We bought a new building and we built out our factory with new machines that could run overnight. And we were coming out with these new products. And before, when you'd launch a new product, it would take 3 years sometimes before people would even know about it. You'd put it on your price list, you'd let the dealers know. And I started seeing this as an avenue to get our new products out there faster. And we had to come up with new products. We bought all these new machines and it's time to start innovating. And I saw it as an avenue to get these new products out there. We were coming out with the Predator taper, the Corner Cobra, came out with the 14-inch box.
Was that your first automatic taper, or the Predator?
No, we've been making
it was the first carbon fiber one.
Okay. Was that the first carbon fiber on the market?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was actually invented by a guy named Don Burns in Meridian, Idaho.
Boise area.
Okay.
Yeah. He's a great guy.
Did he approach you to sell you the technology, or did?
Yeah. So what happened was that we were at an open house at a L&W supply yard, like one of those.
Sorry, and we'll get back to Aaron. We'll get back to how this fills in with Phil. Yeah. But I'm interested.
So we were
in
at an L&W supply yard, and we had a little booth, right? And we were there with a great manager and Jason Whitrow there, and he put on a good show with food and everything, like barbecue pork and all that stuff. And anyways, I got asked about 3 or 4 times, you've met Don, hey? And I go, no, I haven't met Don. Well, you've seen his taper, right? He made one out of carbon fiber. I said, no, I haven't met Don, no. So I finally got his number and I phoned him up and we went over to his garage where he worked out of. And he had made a carbon fiber taper and he was a machinist before he became a drywaller. And anyways, we made a deal with him. It wasn't that it was patented or anything. It was just a deal to work together and for him to get revenue ongoingly from it if it worked. And it was great.
He'd already had it tested for a year or two with 2 or 3 full-time tapers that tape every day.
Had he approached any other companies with this concept?
No, I don't think so.
No, Don didn't really care. Like
he's a tinkerer. He just wanted to.
Okay.
He was doing tool repair and he had shut down his drywall company. He was real proud of it.
Yeah.
He was a real proud guy, and he but no, I don't think he had designs.
That's weird. A drywaller that's real a drywall guy that's really proud.
Yeah. Well, I don't think his vision didn't go outside of Boise. I don't think.
Well, maybe. He was just really proud of what he'd done, and he would sing the praises of it, and he thought everyone should have one. It was like that, and he didn't quite. I think he had thought about he was thinking about taking guys' tapers and changing them over to that in his garage.
He was doing repairs and he was putting the new body in.
$1,000. I'll take your taper and put a carbon fiber housing on
it. Like that. But anyways, he did a bunch of little things to people's tools he thought were better. He's one of those type of guys. But yeah, but on the proud note, we'll get back to Aaron and Phil at PRC. But on the proud note, if you're not proud as a drywaller, you're done because no one else is going to praise you, right? On the job site, you're alone.
That's true. Well, Fresco Harmony, you get a little bit,
Yeah, I can see that.
That's a big deal. So yeah, when I go on there, all of a sudden I can be a prima donna because I'm doing fancy walls, and you get appreciated.
Your big difference. Self can come through.
Yep. Sorry.
Women are putting their number, slipping it to you, eh? Their phone number.
Just my wife.
Okay, back to PRC.
Okay, so anyways, we're coming out with these new
wait. I have about the Predator. There's a lot of questions there, like why didn't you? But it reminds me of the mountain bike technology with carbon fiber. It just makes sense. Now, you guys weren't douchey at that point and be like, oh, nice carbon fiber. We'll go make our own. Thank you very much. We're going to steal your idea and go make our own carbon fiber and call it the Predator. You guys were cool and were like, hey, we would like to work with you.
Partner with you, yeah.
Now, did that thought cross your mind?
No.
And why? Why couldn't you look at it and be like, Mr. Wonderful, you're going to go like, oh, that's a good idea. We're going to go make our own.
Mr. Wonderful. No, so what the reason why not is, well, first of all, business-wise, we wanted to partner with him locally in the Boise market because he was very strong there for doing repair. But that's not why. He gets a certain amount of dollars per predator we sell. It's not a whole lot, but it's, enough to buy a Starbucks coffee and it's a certain amount.
Okay.
And if they didn't sell, he wouldn't get that. If they sold, he'd get that. So we couldn't really lose. You know what I mean?
Okay, it's a win-win.
Yeah, like that.
And you don't have to go invent the wheel.
No, I know, and it was neat to work with them, and my dad
we still work with them on some things, and
cool.
Yeah, my dad ended up going to Italy with them and doing some work.
Yeah, him and your dad are probably good buddies.
Yeah, yeah,
because they're tinkerers.
Yeah, for sure. And we actually, we became friends, and we bought Carl Raff was the machinist for the Ames brothers. He did all their machining in the early days, and he passed away.
He wanted to make premier.
He was making some in his garage, in Belmont, California. There. Anyways, long story short, me and Don, his daughter called me when he passed, and we bought all his machinery. And me and Don met down there, and we split it up together. So we've become friends, and we've done some projects together, other than the carbon fiber taper. But no, there was no reason to not include Don. When someone's so generous like that,
an absolute passion for it.
Passion, generosity on his part, we just returned it. So yeah, there was no.
But it was also easier for you to use his technology and work with him than to try to go do your own thing. But it doesn't seem like that even crossed your mind. I mean, you have machinists at your shop, right? That you are developer guys that are developing stuff. You guys are developing. Your dad's working on stuff.
Yeah, no, we ended up doing some modifications that were ours, and no, but there's no point.
You just brought him into the fold. I like it.
Brought him in, took what he had, and we kind of joined there. He gets I think we send a check every 2 months to him, and yeah,
that's cool. So Phil, you guys were creating new tools. And you saw Phil had this he's got a meager following, but he's making some cool videos, and looks like a cool kind of hip dude.
Good content, yeah.
Why the hell? Let me reach out to this guy and see if he wants to wear some Columbia swag while he does it.
Yeah, because we wanted to get the product knowledge out there, and then we started thinking about. That's kind of how the brand ambassador program came along. We started thinking about. I always liked what Trimtex did with that Drywaller of the Year.
Yeah, I did too.
And
I was always pissed that I didn't get Drywaller of the Year, but that's a different story.
So I'm trying to think, how can we do something like this to get recognition out there for the people that are using drywall taping tools and make it kind of fun and cool, right? And there wasn't much out there at the time. So we started that brand ambassador program, and it helped us get our new products out there. Obviously, they would be showing them off, but it also helped build a community where people like Drywall Shorty became who they are. And I'm not taking credit for that, but I'm just saying there was an avenue where they could get known for brands. And then guess what? You got other people calling them like Level 5 or Can-Am, and then all of a sudden, and then they can move on to those products. They can move on to everybody. They can move on to Trimtex, and we can build a community where these people get recognition for the work they're doing and for the brand awareness it's bringing. And
Phil made it look like it was like snowboarding or something.
Yeah,
right? Phil made it look like it was like recreation.
Well, that's what I liked about it, right?
Phil had a special touch.
It was always, people have always asked, how can we get sponsored? How can we? And there was never an avenue to do that before. You can't just put a person in a drywall magazine or something like that, right? And I mean,
well, and then nobody's really nurturing that muscle for these people. It's almost like you have to, because you guys were talking about the quality of video and how and that never really occurred to me. I've made a shitload of videos, but I guess they're not as good. They're okay, but there's a quality of video I think that people intrinsically have. I asked Cam, I was like, did you take video in high school? What's your background? He's like, oh no, man, I just make the videos.
And I'm the same. I don't have a very good attention span when it comes to watching something if it doesn't catch my eye and get me going within 15 seconds, like a video that says, wait for it. There's no way I'm waiting for it. I don't care.
Right. Right. Or an ad. If an ad pops up, it's like, oh,
yeah,
I'll change.
It better be 5 or 8 seconds because
they better be good.
And the content that I'm watching better be good, because I'm not going to sit through. I'm not going to sit through that commercial if I'm waiting to see something happen.
So then we kind of built from there, and we started doing that. and before I'd run the tech support line, which I still do for Columbia Tools, where if somebody has a technical problem, they can call in and we'll talk to them and get it solved. So before that, we didn't have video or cell phones. So we just had to be like, hey, adjust this thing on the right, the thing that looks like a disc and there's a chain running on it. So from there, we thought, okay, here's a way we can get videos out there with YouTube and Instagram and Facebook, where we can teach people how to use the tools, how to repair the tools.
Smart.
Because the biggest thing that was missing, I found, for expansion was education. A lot of people are intimidated by the products, still are intimidated by the products, but that's come down over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
For sure. There, and people were, why are you giving this information away? And I mean, you're not giving any information away. You're just trying to build the industry and get people. Lack of education.
Like if you steal someone's method for filling a butt joint in the wall, I mean, you want to go do that in your town, go ahead. You know what I mean? Like, how does it hurt Shorty, right? Like,
Yeah. So speaking of Drywall Shorty, now there's different like avenues that these people take, and we don't really talk about it. She was just kind of like, well, I work for Build. We were talking about the dynamic of like using the tools. And so how does it work? I'm trying to formulate my question here. So she's like goes through Build. So they're like her agent, like like Columbia would pay Build a certain amount to use Drywall Short. How does that work?
I just met him down at EWCI there. I think that's how it works. I think everything's done through the agent, and she can just do the work and show up and do the. So here, but I don't know enough about it to.
But that's different than the film model, though. The film model, you guys are like.
We've never worked with Build. I don't know them, but
okay.
But I'm sure that they're coming in now and consolidating people's product representation. But the thing about these people that you don't understand, it's a labor of love. Well, you understand. Maybe some listeners don't understand. Is that Phil had to do like 2 or 3 hours of direct messaging every night from people like, why do you use a 7-inch stone? Why don't you use a trowel? What people asking him questions? He's like answering questions for 1 to 3 hours a night, right?
Okay, yeah.
Like, if I were to buy tools, what should I buy first? Just questions like that, or why
do you use this music?
And as his videos grew and his library got bigger, he'd get questions back to video number 5 when he's on video number 80 about why he did this or why he did that. And there's a lot of work goes into it. And then people would contact Phil and be like, hey, will you use this product in one of your videos? And we'll give it to you for free. Say it has a value of $400, the product, whatever it is.
Sure.
And he's like, well, it's kind of nice to get a free $400 thing. I got to do a video shoot. I got to take time. I got to edit it. And then I got to take DMs on the product. I got to take DMs at night on the product. So he's like, what do I do? Sell the thing on Craigslist for $200? Like, if it's not something he usually uses or needs anyways. So he put that to me when we were on a trip. We were on a road trip.
He's like, hey, where's my kickback on all these DMs?
Where's my kickback? Where's
I mean, right?
We had a lot of talks about monetization.
He's like, I've got 3 hours a night into doing customer support for Columbia.
I think it was a combination of editing, customer support, and it was about 2 or 3 hours a day.
Okay. Yeah. That's a lot.
And he'd be at 10 at night, telling the guy how much water to put in his mud or what type of mud to use. That wasn't easy, I don't think.
So you guys were like, just bill us $50 an hour. What?
Yeah. Well, no, and then like, so maybe it's good that there's an agency out there now that
Build Guy has 1 million followers, which is mind blowing to me.
That's a lot.
And he does product reviews as well, but he has this like little division of people, and the person that I met was like handled Drywall Shorties, and she was like, I just make 5 videos a week or a month, sorry, for these guys, and she has her own videographer and stuff.
I do like where it's gotten to where it's more natural now, where we had the brand ambassador program where we'd give people sets of tools and they'd be working for us for a year, and they had to use our products, and I never really liked that. I didn't like what it turned into, because then it just looks like, oh, you're just a Columbia brand ambassador using their products. Now we kind of do a monthly thing where we kind of get people involved. I'd rather people be able to use whatever tools, whatever brand they want to use. And if they like it, promote it. If you don't like
That's
it,
smart. That's smart.
I never. You don't want it to get to that. I mean, I don't want to see that. I don't like seeing that when I'm looking at products that I'm interested in, right? You don't want to see some, yeah.
Well, when I read reviews on something, you got to watch for the ones that are monetized, right? Like you'll see top 5, I don't know, massage chairs, right? And some product that people buy, or top 5 badminton courts for your yard. I don't know what people buy, but some of them have this look and feel like they've been paid for each of those slots, the top 5. You know, I mean, it feels sometimes like a review is sold, like number 1's worth this, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. It can feel that way. So you do tend to look for more authentic people that are just like guy in their garage with a t-shirt on, just talking. You know what I mean?
That's why I like that when Drywall Talk came out.
Yeah.
And then the Facebook groups and stuff like that. I was like, here's an avenue that actual people who are making great products can it's a true review board.
It's authentic. Yeah,
it's authentic.
Oh yeah, and well, people were really grilling each other back then. It was more crude. People have chilled out.
Yeah, well, I know, but it holds people accountable, right? I mean,
it's rough.
Yeah, it's rough. Yeah, I took some, and I was new too, so I was very soft skinned, and it was just like, I'm not going back there. They're too mean. Now I can kind of take it, and I don't care. You
are the Drywall Talk now. You're going to be the Drywall Talk.
It's kind of, yeah.
You know what? It's all if you can handle.
I can't take this shit. I'm going to do it myself.
If you can handle the hate and back it up, most people will get off you. Some people are having a bad day, and
in that arena. But it went rounds and rounds. And then all of a sudden I posted a Drywall podcast, or Cam posted a video, and he said something that was like, why would you do that? You know, like, why would you put color in the mud? Like, I get that a lot. And also, well, why would you put color in the mud if you're just going to paint over it? Like, it's like beyond them that you would use mud to be the final finish.
Yeah. We get that about our
weird.
Cheaper line of tools too. That people like we have.
Why would you do that? And I just said, all I said was, thank you for listening to the podcast. I really appreciate it. That was my response. And I just was like, I didn't answer him why I do anything. I don't have to tell anybody why I do anything that I do. You know?
We have an introductory line of tools, the semi-automatic tools, right? The whole market, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, we started with lower versions of CNC machines, and we've gone up to higher versions. I mean, you have to start somewhere. You got to bootstrap your way up, right?
What is that tool called?
It was the original one that was made by Better Than Ever was called a super taper. We call it a semi-automatic taper. Yeah.
Okay, semi-automatic taper.
And it does look primitive. It does.
Way better though than, would you say? I don't know. I haven't tried it. I don't want to overset it. Well, I'm not even talking about the slot box. But it's got to be better than the standard banjo.
Well, your footage, because the banjo doesn't hold much mud, right?
Right. Like, I've used a banjo a bunch, and they work. They're not as good as a taping machine, but they work. There's a market for both.
And I think people just don't get it. Like, today is obviously a midterm election day in the States, and an issue in Florida might not be an issue in Washington State, right?
Yeah.
And it's similar with tools. People are like, why would you use that? And they actually probably are authentically wondering, why the hell would anyone use that?
Yeah. Different markets are different though. Like some markets we sell,
I think it's authentic
only that product into it, and some markets we sell tapers, none of those, right? It's just the way people.
Also, too, we're so close to it that my ego instantly is like, why not do it? You know, you jerk. But the reality is, like, they're asking a legitimate question, and I'm so close to it, and I've been doing it for so long that it makes like perfect sense. It'd be like, why are people putting pigment into paint? It's like, well, because they want a selection of color. It's that simple, the answer, you know, but nobody's putting color into mud. It's a monochromatic medium. Like, that's why it's so mind blowing. And just
imagine you got like a post or DM and it says, why would you put color in the mud? And you're like, holy shit, why do I do that?
Yeah.
And you're like, I think I'll quit. I mean, if it was just like everyone's negative opinion or you know,
you definitely have to have a fix.
But it's good though. It's like testing you with a bit of fire, right? Like it's like putting you to really define what you do in your own head too, right?
Yeah. And also, I mean, same vein, like Christy Allett called me out because I'm talking about how much product I save. And then she was like, yeah, but you use like in your training video, like you put your mixer back into the water and it had a bunch of mud on it. You didn't even tap it off. Like she was like grilled me about a couple of things, like technique things that I was like, oh, that's so funny. Like,
you're wasting.
And I called her.
I saw that video. I thought the exact same thing.
Well,
really?
No, but that's.
I'm gonna have to edit that video.
Yeah, that should never be seen again. No, but that there is people out there that focus on literal minutia of what they're watching, and that's a certain type of person, and they usually have a certain type of job, and are. But there's other people like fucking cool, man. That guy just put color on the wall. There's different stuff going on.
You see different things. Right? Everybody sees different things.
Right? And the internet or the web or the different platforms puts this out to all these people. And one guy thought in one of our videos, he's like, man, you look like Alex Jones, right? I was a little heavier then, right? And it's like, people have all these opinions that you would never think about what you're doing and what you're up to. Like, you're like, where did that come from? Right. Sure. And it's kind of, I don't know. It kind of, I don't even think about it anymore, really, because I understand there's going to be 1,000 takes on it. But to the extent that I do think about it, it does refine my own belief in what I'm doing, or my own. It makes me think about it more through someone else's view, anyways.
Yeah, and just like, I mean, some people really gravitate towards what I'm doing, and some people don't, and not spending the energy, because you guys really zeroed into Freeman, and I was like, well, Freeman had his. Not had his chance. I mean, I would always entertain like the conversation, but like he didn't see the vision. It goes back to that passion that you're talking about. You guys don't want somebody representing Columbia that prefers level 5 on a daily basis. Yeah,
and there's also, I mean, some people have been approached so many times by so many different people with so many different ideas that it's hard to know which ones are the winners and which ones aren't the winners either.
I mean, how many independents? There's Freeman. There's
Mirko.
Solid Products. There's Mirko. How many more is there left, though?
What do you mean by independents? Do mud companies?
Well, like owner operator, where the owner's on the site. You know what I mean? Like the
okay.
It's like there's not that many left. I mean,
in the mud world.
Not that many in the mud world that I can think of.
And there's not very much mud. It's like, what, 6, 12?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, there's 4 muds that people use, right?
Not much. No, you're right.
That's crazy. That is crazy.
You're not going to get one of these guys to take a risk at a major corporation right now.
No,
I don't think. You're not. You're going to have to work with a guy, a medium-sized, a smaller guy. Hey, you might have to start making your own mud.
People have said that.
Hey, I got a guy in Italy you could talk to. His name's Carlo. He makes mud on the east coast of Italy. So Italy they did plaster, obviously. They probably invented it in the Roman era, right? Venetian, that is where it's from, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, but because of the earthquakes that have caused massive devastation,
repair.
The new building code is drywall, stick frame drywall or steel stud drywall in hospitals and schools and in schools. But this guy Carlo started making his own mud because he couldn't get it. Shipping mud's like shipping water across the world, right?
Yeah.
But he's got a batch plant there. He makes mud and he sells it.
Funny.
He sells paint as well. But there's a guy that, I don't know, maybe Italy would like it.
I would think so.
Because it's like, it would be like the old way of doing it. I don't know.
Yeah, makes me nervous to even think about it. I mean, I just want to get into Canada. It's right up there. And Canada's beautiful.
We'll let you know if we know anybody.
No, I mean, and going back to CSR, I mean, that at the very least, I had all these ideas and all these things I wanted to do. And it's like, I'll just go up there and meet these guys. And like, if I can do a demo, great. If I don't get the opportunity to do a demo, that's fine. And it's kind of like, that's kind of how I have to be a lot, whatever happens, happens.
Can you mass produce your product, or can you or are there like 5 or 10 colors that are the most popular, like rather than trying to do the whole line?
You do the whole Benjamin Moore spectrum, you said?
That comment is common from entrepreneurs. And also, why don't you manufacture your own material? There's there's answers to that. One is, here's one answer. The kiosk holds 40 colors. I like that. I think that's cool because it gives people an option. They could choose from the colors. You can go onto the kiosk and just pick out one of the 40 colors. And with the 6
40 colors is what you're 40.
There's 6 grays, and then there's 2 big 16-ounce bottles with like rich Galtiero steel. It's this like beautiful black and a beautiful purple, really rich, a double color pack. So there's 48 colors total on a kiosk. That's cool because the kiosk holds 5 colors deep, so you can do like at least a room, but you don't have to order that color. You have access to it. People want instant gratification. This goes back to shipping too, and why I don't put it in the product. It makes shipping a lot easier. The product keeps on the shelf, which is super cool.
That's important.
That's important. And then the kiosk also doesn't take up a lot of room in the showroom. I'm competing against plaster bags, like pallets of plaster and buckets of material that like I can keep a 200 unit kiosk in the showroom, like right in the showroom on the end cap or whatever. Takes up 0 space. Somebody can be like, oh, cool, this is neat. I'll take it home and try it next week. And they don't have to use it right away. Even after they mix it, you can put a lid on it with no water. And if the water's clean, I've used mud up to like a year later, like
with the tint in it.
And that's more what I was talking about with not wasting material other than beating off my mixer. It's about like that, you mix up plaster, you got to use it just like Quickset. You have to use it because it has a setting time. Whereas Ready Mix doesn't. And people have asked me, why don't you use Quickset? And it's like, well, now you're back to plaster. One of the problems with plaster is, and when you're mixing a Quickset or a powder, your color formula is more difficult to attain. Whereas with Ready Mix, it colors just like paint. So you have perfect color from batch to batch. It really caters to color. It's amazing.
Really? So you're putting, wow. So
it colors perfectly from batch. Let me repeat, because no other plaster system really colors. And that's where you get a lot of your issues with patching. It's because there's color drift from bag to bag. You're weighing out a powder versus those units of mud are measured. And if your base color is consistent every time, and my color is formulated correct and you get all the color out of the bottle, you'll get perfect. So when I have to go do another room in that house, they want minor sand or gallery pearl or something. I don't have to, that's a non-issue.
So with your product, what is your, it's probably not totally specific. What is your target customer? Is it owner operator who is working with the contractor on a spec home? Is it
anyone that wants beautiful walls, anyone that wants an option other than paint and texture, like a builder up in Napa Valley he was building a $25 million home. I interviewed him. I went up to Napa Valley and I hung out with Dave Clark. DC2 Drywall was up there. The builder goes to Dave Clark and he says, hey, we're over budget. We have $30,000 palm trees and 400-year-old olive trees that we're implanting from like Italy on this, like, is there any way I could save money on this house? And the guy was like, well, there's this product called Fresco Harmony, because they had a $375,000 plaster budget. Whoa. The guy that's like the prima donna that flies out to Italy all the time and does trainings and stuff. So Dave was like, well, there's this color joint compound stuff. And he was like, oh, that's interesting. They requested 4 custom whites. I sent them to him. Dave's like, yeah, it's a pretty big project, blah, blah, blah. We've never done it before. I'm like, oh, you'll kill it. Don't worry about it. And they ended up, I think his bid was around $175,000. Builder saved $100,000, which is not nothing, even on a $25 million Napa Valley vineyard home. It's not nothing.
But that's lunch for a week for that owner of that home. Eh?
That's probably they'll be able to buy their second and third home with
fill their wine rack,
put a down payment, fill their wine rack. And so
their first car.
Yeah. And so they did the project. Builder saved $200,000, and really it's the builder. The builder's not, he's making money.
But that is a good case study.
That's a good case study.
But what I'm trying to figure out is what will drive the purchasing of the product. Who's pitching it? Is it pull through where the homeowner sees it in a magazine or online and requests it? Is it the
drywall guy has to sell it. He stands to benefit the most because he's going to
make the money from it.
He's going to double or quadruple his profit margin. I mean, but the Predator's a great tool, but it doesn't quadruple a profit margin.
It just makes the day a little nicer, but it doesn't make the money. It doesn't make them. They're going to still do the drywall with any taper they have. You're correct. Well, it doesn't change how much money they're getting per foot. What is the perfect drywall company? Is it the guy that has 5 crews? Is it an owner operator that has a helper? Is it a solo guy like Phil? Is it a big corporation with a front office and everything? Who have you worked with? If you were to think right now for where your product's at, I know what you're saying. One day,
I mean, Chad Hesher is a small company out of Illinois. He's done like 25,000 square feet, something like that. So he's made a bunch of money.
And is he an owner operator with maybe 1 helper or 2 helpers?
Yep. Okay, he's like in that range. Yeah. Like Drywall Shorty, I sort of pitched it to her. She was like, "Oh, there's a plaster guy in our area. He does all the plaster. We've tried that. I'm not really into it." And I let the conversation drop, but Drywall Shorty and Ryan, they would fucking crush it with this shit. Like fucking crush it. And every time I see her putting chalk into her mud and doing like a 3-way, I'm like, dude, if you want to play with color, man, you guys should really be fucking playing with color. Like, who gives a shit about the plaster guy down there? This is not plaster. You guys could be doing, even if you did an accent wall for every builder's home that you went on, you're going to make an extra $1,000 to $2,000 a job. That's the power of Fresco Harmony. It's this little color pack that you can like create this entire world with.
And did you teach Cam how to do that, or you just do it himself?
He watched the fucking video, dude. Cam went and was like, I had an hour-long conversation with Cam and talking just the way we're talking right now, and he was like, I'm gonna fucking do it. And he went and he bought $150 worth of product, and he did an accent wall in his house. That wall that he did a video, that's the first time he'd ever used the product.
Yeah, and it turned out great, right?
It's amazing. It's drywall mud. It's like, this is not rocket science, man. This is just like having the ability to just open up the blinders, like just let the light in a little bit, and you can make more money.
I'm kind of getting it now. I'm kind of getting what the approach is.
The conversation with Cam was not about how to do it. I mean, he had some questions about. There's questions, don't get me wrong. I mean, people have all kinds of questions about how to do it, how to mix it, like all kinds of all that stuff. The conversation that I have with people is around how to sell it. Like that is the conversation, because builders don't know it exists. And it's easy for a drywall guy to say, "Oh, well, that doesn't sell in my area." It's easier for you guys to say, "Oh, that's a Southwestern thing."
That's why you got to keep doing what you're doing and getting the information.
No, it's 100% right. So he's got to go find the early adopters that are out there.
You got to work with them.
And I'll bet you it's almost traceable, like per town. I'll bet you that if there was 10 guys in southern Colorado that drywalled in a town like Durango, if there's 20, 30 guys, Durango's probably bigger than that, but and I bet you if you talk to all 30, let's just make up a number 30, I'll bet you would get a certain percentage, call it 3, that would be 10%, and I bet you that would be true across the board.
I talked with you guys too, to Out West Drywall Supply. So that podcast is going to drop Friday. So they have four shops, and this so there's a level of drywall company that you could probably narrow down that would be more inclined to use the product. Well, there's a level of drywall supply shop that would be more inclined to carry it too. Sure. And you're right. I think you said it earlier. It's the smaller shops. So, and I brought you guys up to Max and Billy with Out West Drywall Supply. I don't know if you've targeted them or talked to them ever.
We do a little bit of business with them. Yeah, we do.
So they started selling. He wanted an exclusive deal. They started selling Fresco Harmony. We did a training at the Glenwood Springs location. They have a large plaster conglomerate already, people that are already doing plaster in Aspen, Vale, and those markets.
Oh yeah.
So that was a little nugget. So Max was proactive, the shop guy, and he got like 30 people to the training. Oh, wow. All those people, and those guys were grilling me. So imagine me standing up in front of 30 people talking about colored mud for the first time.
Yeah.
You were singing.
If I did not sing,
no.
My hair was dyed blonde, and I just dove into it, and I was like, here's the thing, and talk to him plainly the way I'm talking to you now. Do you guys want to make more? This is an easier way to do it. You're still going to make the money that you're making with plaster.
What's the next need for Fresco Harmony? Like, what's the next step for you guys?
More distributors, awareness in a larger market.
Yeah, volume.
Yeah. And you asked how much I could produce. I could produce 100 bottles an hour. I mean, that wouldn't necessarily be an issue. It would be difficult if somebody was like, if I approached Home Depot and they're like, or anyone, and they were like, we want to put you in 50 stores. Well, that would be challenging. There would need to be some capital for that to occur. But I could handle, I could handle 5 to 10 shops. I mean, that would be a good starting point right now. We were talking about long-term goals, short-term goals.
Do you need like trainers to go out and train?
No, I would go. At this point, yeah, I'd just go. Just like, I'd hitch up the wagon with the kid.
Grow organically, you can do that, right? When you go out and actually be a part of it and get a town going and then move on to the next town. And
Yeah, like El Paso, like I'm nurturing that relationship right now. He was even asking about a training, and it's like, dude, I was down there, I can drive back down there and do a training, but the training's kind of a big deal. And that also pushes the drywall distributor to promote the product if they want to carry it.
Is it time to buy the Sprinter van? Like the
Oh man, I'm kind of a trailer guy. I like, I like the idea of a trailer more than like an RV. And then
you can drop it and drive the truck around.
Yeah, then I can drive my truck and I could take product with me. But
nice.
Good. Well, I think we'll probably do this again one day as time goes on. I'd love to visit back in as you make progress with the product.
Yeah, for sure.
I'd like to help you out any way we can too with getting it going. I think it's a neat thing. I think that it's got to get in the right hands, and you got to unlock that kind of combination lock of who, what, when, where, and kind of You'll get these big bursts that'll happen over the next 5 years.
That's funny. You say combination lock, and I always say crack the code. Like I'm trying to crack this code, and I like the way your wheels are turning. You're like, how could he market that? That's just the natural marketeer in you. But
how we operate here is you look at your goals, and then each week you try to make progress towards those goals, right? And each thing you do is a step, right? And you have to do sometimes 1,000 steps to get to where you want to go. And you just keep thinking of what's the next thing I can do to get to that goal. And once you've achieved whatever the last thing was, right?
And then the next thing you know, we turn around and Nick's on with Oprah Winfrey on her favorite things, right?
Yeah.
And
does Oprah Winfrey still have a show?
I don't know.
It's still part of the.
If she does, you'll be on.
Yeah. No, it'd be cool just to have those walls and ceilings characters like just throw me a bone.
Hey, what about the AWCI show? Are you going to be in? Is it in Vegas?
Vegas this year, yeah.
Yeah, I'll definitely be there. I've talked with Shane a little bit, and then it's like, do I want to like share a booth? But I've talked with Shane with the platformer, and then you've got Corey with the tech dry tool, and those guys are just cool guys, and they're like me. They're small. They invented something in this difficult space.
Sure.
And we were talking about, just brainstorming the same sort of thing. Like, how can smaller guys, branch out and get the attention of the larger market? And we had sort of a quasi idea of like a drywall association, maybe like the AWCI, but for just anybody that wants to join, regular tapers or hangers or finishers, like I was like, that's a pretty good idea, and then even smaller than that, like a mastermind group would be very cool, with some players from different parts of the region, where you have a phone call once a month and we talk about cool new ideas and brainstorm, because I might have a different marketing strategy to market the Columbia than you guys, because you're so close to it. Then all of a sudden I'm getting this different feedback, and then Corey's like, oh, you haven't even tried this, you should just you got to pick up the phone, you got to call these guys, or you got to these things don't occur to us because we're so close to our product all the time,
and you just assume people are going to want it, and people it's a weird mind game it can play with you, for sure.
No, I think I'd like to try it myself on a wall. I think I'd like to do that.
My neighbor was like, it's very experiential. He's an architect. He's a really cool dude, but he was doing remodeling his bathroom, and he was like stuck in the drywall for like days. And I was like, dude, just let me fresco harmony. And he knew, like, he knows I'm into fresco harmony, and like, there's no way I was going to help him texture and paint his bathroom, like, And so his wife was gone, and I was like, I've got some JJ Ash, dude. Just let me do the sanded finish. I'll do it right over the top of the drywall. I'll be done in 3 hours. And he was like, yeah, right, dude. And 3 hours it took me, and I blew out his entire bathroom, and it was done, and it looks like a spa. It's gorgeous.
Nice. Really? That's cool.
And the neat thing is too, if there's like a shitty drywall job, which none of your listeners ever do, but like there are out there these hack jobs. You can go right over top of them, right?
Doesn't matter. And I'd almost prefer it. I'd almost prefer to go over like an orange peel substrate, or a painted orange peel substrate. It's almost like the ideal substrate.
Perfect.
It's weird.
Yeah, well, I'll check out your color palette on your website, and I'll maybe pick a color or two that I want to. I've got to think of a wall I want to do, but I think we may be in our office here even.
Yeah,
like to try.
Text me, let me know. It would be fun to come up to BC. First of all, you guys are close to my family. It'd be fun to come up there and invite some people and do like just a fun hangout, and we'll do like a training. Like, that would be cool.
Let's totally. Like, we could do our office here. This is a wood wall behind us, but the rest are gypsum with T-bar ceiling. But we could do a tint here.
Yeah,
great.
Sure.
And we could go right over that wood wall, which would be awesome, with fiberfuse, and we could blow out that whole wood wall. Not that you'd want to, but
awesome. Well, thanks for having us again, hey?
Yeah, absolutely. We did the branding, CSR. I'll probably see you guys and get to meet you there. Oh, your pearl of wisdom for Columbia Tools. If you could instill a pearl of wisdom upon the drywall community in any capacity, what would it be? What would you put on a billboard if you could say something? We could do both you guys.
For me, it would be never think you're the best at what you're doing, because that gets you in a hole. You always want to be innovating, trying to be better at what you do, to move forward. Like, if you kind of pause yourself if you think you're the best at what you do, and you kind of let people pass you. So you want to always be thinking about how to be better at what you do.
Yeah, I think my pearl of wisdom to the drywall trade would be, just taking from my own experience, is most of them are entrepreneurs at a level, even if they're even a sub trade being paid by the foot, they are the business themselves, is to, give themselves a pat on the back for the hard work they do, and be like, most people out there nowadays, Nick, I mean, I call it fake work, and there's a lot of fake jobs out there nowadays where people don't do a lot in a day because of technology. And I'm not knocking those people, because maybe that's what's available to them. Maybe that's what works for them. But I don't care what you say. There's no drywaller that's fake working out there.
No.
I don't know how you would do that.
No.
How you would fake, not working hard at drywall.
Yeah.
And I think people should give themselves a pat on the back. I mean, I think it's a tough job. So that's all.
Yeah. Be gentle with yourself.
Yeah.
But don't think you're the best.
No. You know what I'm saying? Like, do something today that your future self will thank you for. Like, if you're, you know what I mean? Like, if otherwise you just keep going down a hole and you can't catch the marbles because they're falling everywhere. And I always like to just do something today that'll help me out tomorrow, right?
And never ever consider yourself just a drywaller, because I as far as I'm concerned, that's pretty obvious. So yeah.
That's a bad rabbit hole to go down. I talked a little bit on the David Lee interview about mental health. It's a real thing, and be aware, be gentle with yourself, and you're doing something original and unique, and and also we have a choice every day of how we want to live sort of each day. What we want to make happen.
Not everyone can do drywall, and it's a thing that is pretty widely acknowledged by a lot of people. Like carpenters are like, I can't do that. But yet the respect doesn't seem to flow, even though people know they can't do it, but they kind of like, I don't know. They go, I know a guy, he's great at it, and they just kind of leave it to him. But then drywallers themselves, I mean, there is more pride coming into the trade. There is more coming in. There is a lot more coming in.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's what we really liked about Phil, and that's what we liked about was like bringing
all the brand ambassador, everybody is bringing pride, bringing pride into the industry, and it's the most badass industry out there.
It's pretty. It's fun. I'm so grateful that I got a chance to talk to you guys, and I get to explore the industry, and the podcast has helped, like, sort of blossom that for me, like that idea that we are a community. This is a community, and this is a way that we can all connect. It's so cool. It's
a community of independent-minded people, but we are a community. Drywallers work alone, and they tend to act alone, but it's forming. The community is forming. I like it.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Aaron and Elliot, St. James, Columbia Tools, great product, great guys. Hopefully we'll see you at CSR in Toronto in a couple of weeks. How exciting is that? And eventually we will get to play with product. I promise you, it is a lot of fun. You guys will love it. And
keep us part of your journey.
Yeah, for sure. You guys have a fantastic day, and we will talk soon.
All right, Nick. Thanks, man.
All right. Take it easy, guys. Special thanks to Aaron and Elliot for being on the Drywall Podcast today. I appreciate your guys' time and insight so much. I hope our listeners appreciate you guys as well. You can listen to the Drywall Podcast every Friday on your favorite platforms such as Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and also YouTube. The Drywall Podcast was brought to you exclusively by Fresco Harmony. Fresco Harmony, making walls better since 2004. If you have any questions about the Drywall Podcast, Fresco Harmony, you can email me directly at info@frescoharmony.com. Thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Until next time, keep drywalling.